Okay, we're in business. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order today's Thursday, July 1st, 2021 meeting of the Missoula Board of County Commissioners. We begin as at all of these meetings with a land acknowledgement, and that is the Missoula County acknowledges that this event today takes place in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish and Kalispel people. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It is much easier to say the pledge when we're doing it all together in the same room than purely online, so much more synchronized. So today we have one public announcement that's on the agenda. This is a proclamation. Whereas the National Interagency Fire Center is predicting above average significant wildfire potential throughout our region in 2021, and whereas our recently adopted Climate Ready Missoula plan found that our summers are becoming hotter and drier, wildfire smoke is a growing risk, and we need to enact strategies to mitigate harm. And whereas wildfire smoke is a serious public health threat that causes worsened asthma attacks, decreased lung function, worsened COPD symptoms, increased susceptibility to infectious disease, increased risk of heart attack and stroke, and increased hospitalizations and deaths. I hope you're all feeling real good right now. And whereas wildfire smoke can come indoors, creating unhealthy conditions both outside and inside, and whereas during periods of heavy wildfire smoke, it's possible to protect health by creating cleaner indoor spaces, reducing outdoor activities, and checking in on friends, family, and neighbors. And whereas public outreach focused on the dangers of wildfire smoke and how individuals can protect themselves and others plays an important role in community preparedness during wildfire season. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, Missoula County and the City of Missoula, do hereby proclaim July 12th through July 18th as Wildfire Smoke Ready Week to inform and educate Missoula City and County residents of the hazard that wildfire smoke presents and how to prepare and stay healthy as individuals, families, neighbors, and as a community. Signed, the mayor of Missoula, John Engen, and us three commissioners up here, Dave Stromeyer, Juanita Vero, and Josh Slotnick. Is there anything anyone would like to add on this topic?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please do.
Sarah, what good things are going to happen this week?
There we go. I'm Sarah Cofield. I'm air quality specialist with the Missoula City County Health Department. I'm very excited to have this proclamation for Smoke Ready Week for Missoula County. Wildfire smoke is our most significant air pollution health threat. It's a serious public health risk that we all face year after year. But the good news is there's something you can do about it. You know, the smoke comes inside, but the technology exists to create those cleaner indoor air spaces. We just want to make sure as many people as possible know that there are simple steps you can take to stay safe during wildfire season. You don't have to just sit there in the smoke and feel miserable. So during Smoke Ready Week, we have some events lined up that we're planning where folks can come and ask an air quality specialist on the 14th. We'll get that information pushed out. We're going to have a lot of radio ads running, some social media campaign going. And Caroline, I think, knows more about all the events we have lined up. We'll also be at the farmers markets before on the 10th and on the 17th. And we'll be out to lunch in downtown tonight the week before, because that's when we could get on there to table with information and provide as much information as we can. People are interested in how to create those cleaner indoor air spaces. Caroline, do you have anything? Did I cover it? Awesome. So we're very excited for this. It's the first Smoke Ready Week in Montana, and it's going to hopefully help us better prepare our community, because I find people who have never heard a word that I have said over the past 4 years, and I'm excited to reach more folks and help us be healthy and get through the fire season.
Thank you so much. And one surefire way to decrease smoke is to be safe with fireworks, or better yet, don't even ignite them in the next several days. Anything else on this proclamation? Okay. Mr. Slotnick, did you have?
I'm going to say thanks to both you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Good work. One other announcement to make. If you have not caught it yet, and we are fortunate enough to have a couple representatives, at least a couple from the media here, the Board of County Commissioners has begun a new video series called Tip of the Spear. We, I believe, have 4 of these out so far, an introductory video, a couple dealing with passenger rail, and one that just rolled out today, I believe, on aspects of utilizing our river recreation areas. Josh or Juanita, anything that you'd like to add on this?
They're great.
They are great videos.
Our comms team has done a wonderful job of taking our jabber and making it tight and adding music and good B-roll, and they're really cool. So you should check them out.
You can find them either via the County Commissioners page on our website when the website is functioning, or you can also go to the Missoula County YouTube channel, rumor has it. So check that out. They are crowd pleasers. Okay. Is there any public comment on items not on today's agenda? And if folks are joining us virtually, be sure to raise your hand virtually, and we will call on you in the order in which you do so, or unmute yourself, hit *6, and we'll engage you that way. So if there's no public comments on items not on the agenda, the current claims list as of June 18 through June 21st, claims received by the Commissioner's Office total $1,798,269.03. We have 3 public hearings today, the first of which is a continuation of a public hearing we opened a while back and we'll be revisiting today. Each of these public hearings will begin with a staff report, followed by an opportunity for public comment, followed by questions from the commission, either a motion or discussion and debate among the commissioners, and then we'll vote on the item. So to begin with, Nick, would you like to reintroduce to us the Ramos family transfer?
Yes, thank you, Dave. I'll share my screen here, get it up in the window. Great. So this is a continuation of a hearing from mid-May. This is a proposal by Mike Romness to use the family transfer exemption to the Montana Subdivision and Platting Act. Starting with a quick background section on the project. So the location of the proposed family transfer is approximately 5 miles south of Arlee in the northern part of Missoula County. Parcel sits approximately 0.5 miles to the east of Highway 93 North and is fully within the Flathead Reservation boundaries. Property is currently unzoned, and the growth plan that covers this area is the 2002 Regional Land Use Guide. That guide designates this tract as open and resource with a recommended density of 1 dwelling per 40 acres. Getting into the existing on-site conditions, the property is 10.06 acres in size and currently undeveloped. The claimant, Mike Romnos, owns the adjacent lot, which is 24922 Tool Valley Road. That parcel has 1 issued permit on it for a barn with dwelling space and a shop with dwelling space. And if there was a dwelling unit on the proposed family transfer parcel, the density would be 1 dwelling per 10.06 acres. Then getting into the family transfer proposal, the proposal would result in the claimant's adult son, Tyler, receiving a 5.02 acre tract, which is proposed as tract 1B. It's the one on the northern end of the property. The claimant, Mike Romness, would retain ownership of the remaining 5.04 acres, which is tract 1A. The exemption application states all tracts are intended to remain single-family residential. And it was discussed during our last hearing, and along with some supplemental information, that Ms. Ramos does have some plans to potentially later transfer his proposed tract 1A to a future son, and I believe they will detail some findings on that later. Getting into agency comment, the Missoula County Public Works Department commented that all properties would be required to gain access off of Tool Valley Road, which is the roadway of lesser classification. The health department commented that the project would require sanitation review. And then we did receive a comment from the Confederate Salish Kootenai Tribes wildlife biologist, and they commented that the proposal would not affect local wildlife habitat. Now, as with any family transfer proposal, we will go over the rebuttable presumptions and general evasion criteria points that were triggered during staff analysis. Starting with rebuttable presumption number 4, this is found applicable. Mike and Wendy Ramos also own the adjacent parcel, which is parcel 3 of COS 6132, to the proposed family transfer parcel, which is parcel 1 of COS 6132. The family transfer recipient could be gifted parcel 1, essentially achieving the goal of the family transfer exemption without the division of parcel 1. Rebuttable presumption number 8, this is also applicable. Shown in COS 6132, track 1 was created using the family transfer exemption. However, this was not done by a member of the Ramos family. This was done by the previous lot owners. General evasion criteria number 1 is also applicable. While it's not believed that the applicant is solely in the business of land development, Mike Ramos did perform a 2-lot minor subdivision in 2007, referred to as the Ramos edition. General evasion number 2, this is also applicable. Mike and Wendy Ramos purchased the property via warranty deed on November 30th of 2020, as shown in book 1044, page 874. In general evasion point number 14, this is applicable. Like I said, current density would be 1 dwelling per 10.06 acres, which does exceed the recommended density of 1 dwelling per 40 acres. The family transfer proposal would further exceed the recommended density at 1 dwelling per 5.03 acres. And I think Mike is here. I will have him come up here and we can go over the family transfer questions.
So do we need to do this again? We already did this the last time, did we not?
We did, yeah. Sorry, I was just going back through, but we can skip this part for you if we just want to go straight to the plan.
I think
sounds good.
So.
Yep. I'll just leave the proposal up.
Okay. So with that, would the applicant or applicant's representative like to address us? Come on up.
Perfect. Thank you, commissioners. I'm Rachel Parkin. I'm an attorney with Milo Drivich, Dell & Steinbrenner, and I'm here on behalf of Mike. We appreciate your time and your reconsidering this matter, further considering this matter. I don't want to waste your time plowing old ground. I want to just jump right in with addressing some of the concerns that had arisen during the May 13th hearing and just jump into our proposals and how we might alleviate some of the concerns that the commissioners have. So at first, the goals, I want to make sure that Mike's goals are very clear because that's really what's driving this request. So again, he has 2 adult sons, Tyler and Ryan. Mike owns Paul's Pancake Parlor. Part of his succession planning is getting his elder son in particular back here to Missoula so he can start the process of taking over that family business. And so again, this parcel was purchased with the intent of doing a family transfer and giving a part of it to Tyler for that purpose. One of the alternatives I know that had come up at the last hearing was transferring the entire 10-acre parcel. And I think Nick had mentioned that again, going through the staff report. And we've talked about that. So I spoke at length with Mike. We researched some of the options, talked about it. And there are a number of reasons why it's not going to achieve the goals that he is looking for. So first, it's not going to help with financing. So as we all know, it's not impossible to obtain financing when there's a joint ownership, right? So if he's transferring the property to both sons and as co-owners or joint tenants, as was suggested, there is a financing issue. He's got 2 sons in their 20s that are trying to get established and trying to build a home and finance a home on a bare piece of land is difficult with co-owners. I think that's particularly true when you're talking about younger persons who are trying to keep their finances independent of each other. It sets his sons up for disagreement over use and care of the property, maintenance of the property, things like that. Again, Mr. Ramos's goal is to make it as easy as possible for his sons to return, to build on this land and to do that. By doing a family transfer, it's going through the sanitation review process right now on Mike's dime. So, you know, when the property's split, it'll go through that sanitation review process. Otherwise, he's transferring a piece of property that actually has a COSA on it, restricting it to a single family dwelling at this point. And so if both sons at some point wanted to live on that 10-acre parcel, they'd have to go through either a division process or COSA rewrite anyways. So again, preserving the ability to, I guess, treat each son equally is important as well. And one 10-acre parcel doesn't allow him to do that in the same way that 2 5-acre parcels does. So with that, before I move on to the next one, questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
First, thanks so much for coming in. I appreciate it and appreciate the background. So looking at this right now, it looks like if the family transfer was completed as you would like, it looks like one son would get 5 acres. And then there would be one remaining tract of 5 acres that Mr. Ramos could do with as he wishes. That's subdivision. And if he could sell it tomorrow, sell it next month, give it to second son in a year, he has all array of options are on the table. That really looks like subdivision. If, as you're saying, and I don't doubt you, and sir, I don't doubt your motives at all. This is just kind of what it looks like externally. If the goal here is to get each son 5 acres, why not divide it in half, give each son 5 acres? Then it looks like a family transfer. Each son gets 5 acres. They're your sons. Looks pretty clean. Having 1 acre be unassigned or only assigned to the owner of the parent parcel really looks like subdivision.
And I have, oh, I'm sorry.
I guess I'm confused. Wouldn't he have to retain ownership? You couldn't give it to 2 sons. He'd have to retain.
For this, and I guess just to extend the idea, and maybe you're getting to this, another idea that was
The boundary line.
yeah, or aggregation. Is that even feasible to aggregate the northeast portion or northeast property that I think may be your home or where there's actually a dwelling unit, and the southwest parcel that would allow you to accomplish a family transfer with both parcels then going to each son?
Forgot that step, sorry.
Go ahead. I don't want to preempt
my
anything you
notes.
want to say.
I was going to get there eventually. Anyway.
Okay.
So let me take them kind of step by step.
Sure.
So with regard to doing an immediate transfer, so retaining like a small square and doing an immediate transfer to both sons, I think there's 2 reasons that won't be effective. The first is the Missoula County regulations themselves require Mr. Ramos to retain that property for a period of at least 2 years after the family transfer is complete. If we're talking about keeping a small square, I'm not sure that the family transfer statute allows you to transfer 2 parcels and retain 1. I think it requires you, and John, if you disagree, let me know. In fact, I have the statute right here, but to do one parcel and 1 remainder.
Mr. Hart.
John.
Josh, if what you're suggesting is, divvying up the 10-acre parcel and kind of like.
I'm imagining like 1 and 4.5 and 4.5 and 1. Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
And Mr. Ramos keeps 1 and the 2 sons each get 4.5.
There isn't anything prohibiting, a transfer. I mean, a 3-way division like that, as long as, it's going to 2 sons. And so,
And-
I mean, that would be a possibility.
Yep.
But then you end up with kind of the same scenario in that so traditionally when we do these family transfers, the remainder is yeah, and so you then
aggregation rather than now there's 1 acre to sell.
right. Continue.
And that also doesn't solve the problem of the fact that Ryan, his younger son, isn't planning on coming back right away, right? So this is something he's planning to do in the future. It's a gift he would like to be able to make in the future. My understanding is Ryan's not in Montana and not planning on coming back to Montana right away. And so, you know, honestly, I think what Mr. Ramos was expressing to me was that he would like to be able to use that property. So the 10-acre property that he has is it ended to be as a rescue, right, for horses. And so he's talked about haying the, you know, the remainder portion of that property. He'd like to be able to use it and to hold it to gift or transfer to his son in the future, should Ryan return and want that. And maybe I can get us there faster. We did come up with a proposal for the commissioners to consider. Mr. Ramos would like to propose an additional restriction on his deed, restricting the transfer for a longer period of time. So instead of a 2-year restriction on transfer following the family transfer division, he proposed doubling that period of time and making it, you know, 4 years. And we had actually drafted up a proposed deed restriction and sent it over to John for review in advance of this, so that he could consider it as well.
So before we get to that, did you discuss the possibility, and maybe it's not even technically or legally feasible, to do an aggregation?
Right. So the aggregation still doesn't quite get us there. Honestly, I have never done an aggregation based on a corner. Right? I had a conversation with John about it, and I actually researched it a little bit and didn't come up with a firm answer. I suspect you can do it because they are contiguous. They touch, if only at the corner. But regardless, that still doesn't accomplish Mr. Ramos's goal, which is to be able to immediately transfer a parcel to his older son, and then to retain a parcel that he can transfer to an equal parcel, to treat both equally, that he can transfer.
So I
at a
think
later date.
I think that would accomplish it. You'd be able to.
Yeah,
You'd be able to immediately split the parcel as currently conceived in half, and transfer one to each son. Am I missing?
I mean, it seems like I think you're right. I think aggregation would be step one. So now you have one big piece, and then you could cut it in half, where Mr. Ramos continues to live on one half, so it doesn't look like subdivision. He's going to sell it, and then the northeast, and then give the other corner to his son. Then it would look like a much more traditional family transfer.
So
aggregation is first step, and then the second step would be splitting it right where the two corners touch.
So in the schematic that we're looking at here, the upper right-hand corner where the red arrow is going to would retain, that would be aggregated with the lower left proposed family transfer parcel. Mr. Ramos would retain ownership of the northeast corner there, and then the proposed family transfer parcel would be split in half, and each of those one would go to each son.
That's a proposed recipe.
Right. And so a couple of things there. First of all, if we can go back, so the proposed transfer, I believe actually has, tract 1B going to his son, which is actually the contiguous portion. And so it would not be possible to, I think, aggregate the proposed tract 1A with the existing 10-acre parcel.
No, I
think you still could.
I think we're missing.
Yeah.
So what I'm suggesting is that currently 1B and 1A, it's just one large parcel. So that would be all aggregated with the northeast corner at the corner. And then split as
The shape is like
then
an hourglass diagonal.
then you split as you would like to, right?
You're
now.
proposing aggregating 2 10-acre parcels to create
Yes.
a 20-acre parcel, and then dividing off.
The lower 10
The
acres
lower
into 2
10.
pieces, and then it would be all right.
totally clean.
Then it'd be totally clean. It would
Son would
fit.
get a parcel.
It would work.
Well, it seems like a couple of extra legal steps and still doesn't change the fact that Mr. Ramos's younger son isn't prepared at this point in time to come back to Montana.
Well, he could
take
give,
possession.
Mr. Ramos could give the 5 acres that he likes to the son who is ready to come back, hold on to ownership of the other 5 acres. And when the time is right, family transfer that 5 acres to his son. As long as he's still living on the upper corner, there's no problem.
Or, and
Does that make
and
sense?
maybe our county, deputy county
that-
attorney would like to,
That's.
Did I go wrong on that?
I think what you were saying is essentially what they're proposing here today. I mean, it would still post, what they do after aggregation is just split the lower 10 acres into 2 parcels, and dad holds the one for some period of time, which is basically what they're proposing to do.
I'm just saying it wouldn't be split because you'd still, at the end of this, you'd have 2 parcels. One is the big corner on top and the other is a half of the bottom corner. So you'd end up with 2 parcels. Dad owns 5 acres plus 10, and then 5 acres goes to the son. And then when the time is right, he cleaves off the other 5 to give to son number 2. And I'm sorry for getting the names wrong. I apologize.
so you do the aggregation as the
You
first
said
step.
do the aggregations first steps, and now you got 2 of these square corners. Then cleave off 5 acres of the bottom corner to give to son number 1. And then when the time is right, family transfer off the second 5 acres to son number 2.
Can that be done?
Can that
if
be
it's
done?
no longer, then the parcel that would be wanting to be cleaved off later would no longer be contiguous.
It might have to swap the north and south 5 acres. So it's contiguous. You know what I mean? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, now,
One of my-
now,
let-
now I understand it.
Yeah.
That Tyler, the son who would be the applicant under the current proposal, gets the lower part of that.
Right, right.
And Mr. Ramos retains the 15 acres.
Yep. And then when the time is
Right.
right, he could cleave off that top 5 for a younger son.
My primary concern with that is that we're setting ourselves up for a second family transfer in the future. And there's no offense to any of the commissioners sitting before me today, but no guarantee that the 3 commissioners here today will be the 3 commissioners deciding the family transfer issue in the future. So even if that were an
Oh,
option.
I would say that that might be a path forward to actually getting the family transfer done as opposed to no family transfer today.
So and yeah, there's definitely that. And we're doing our best to really follow the letter of the law here, which is why all the fuss. We are rooting for you. I have kids, and I own land. I would want to get this done for you. We're setting you up for the second family transfer being super clean. Right now, what you propose today is not, which is hence all the fuss. So the one that would happen in the future is really straightforward. It would be not so much fuss. No matter who's sitting here.
I understand what you're saying, but respectfully, as an attorney, I've seen very clean things litigated into messes. And so again, there's just no guarantee, that's taking a big risk on, something that's not guaranteed in the
And
future.
the first thing
And-
Dave said still remains true, though.
Well, and so to speak to that as well, I think what Mr. Ramos is proposing here today is exactly the reason that the family transfer statute is there, that the exemption is there. He is not proposing to sell, he's just proposed to put an additional deed restriction on that remainder parcel, limiting his ability to sell it because he is committed to hanging on to it.
With all due respect, 4 years is not a deep commitment in the world of land sales.
So here's a question for either you or Mr. Ramos. So when might you think your second son would be in a position to move to this parcel, or is it still unknown whether his life will take him in a different direction?
For sure.
Okay.
And you have to understand, I mean, everybody,
If you could come up to the microphone, Mr. Ramos.
and you have to understand, most of us have kids and these two are polar opposites. I've got one that I would want to gift some land and one that he's got to do some work still, So he's a work in progress and that's exactly what I want to do. But it's still up in the air.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I would fall back on, we could aggregate and give the bottom 5 acres of the bottom corner and get that done and leave open the possibility in the future for a second 5-acre family transfer when the time is right. And that'll get you there. That'll get you there today.
And we fully recognize that's an extra step, but it's probably way less of a step and a lighter lift than minor subdivision.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, and again, I guess I haven't spoken with Mr. Ramos about whether that would be an option. I suspect there may be a reason why the tract 1B, the upper portion or northern portion, was proposed as the transfer parcel and not the remainder parcel. Do you want to speak briefly
Yeah,
to that?
please come on.
So if
Mr. Ramos.
anybody's familiar with McClure Road, there's a whole bunch of dust on that road. It's very close to the road. So the preferred lot is the further north piece.
So given that, is it unlikely that your second son would actually want to live on a lot next to a dusty road? Or?
Well, I think he probably would. Yeah. I'd be saying the north lot is the preferred lot, and that's the one I
Sure.
want to give to the son who is ready to receive that lot.
John, do you see a
Okay, thank you.
path through here? Or would they all need to be contiguous? Yeah,
I don't see a problem. I agree with Ms. Parkins that an aggregation is, because those two lots touch, they are contiguous. I know the surveyor's office has the same opinion, so they could be aggregated if that's what you're asking.
I'm wondering
For the
about
next step.
how is there a path here to cleave off the northern part of the lower corner? Because then I guess we end up with the same situation we started in, is that we have this kind of hanging, the 5 acres on the bottom looks like a loose 5 acres that Mr. Ramos could sell next week. Or
Does
in
the
4
division
years.
have to be north, south, I mean, east, west? Could it go
Oh,
north, south?
that's a good question. Could you divide it vertically?
Sarah, yeah, I know this.
Yeah, please,
Question.
and if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, Dan Foltz with IMEG. I've been helping Mike along with the surveying and family transfer and sanitation. And this tract really doesn't lend itself to a north-south split because of sanitation. So on the, I guess, western side, we have an irrigation ditch and some higher groundwater down towards that area. On the eastern side, up by the road, is
Okay,
kind of where
yeah.
it works for septic and sanitation and the regulations that impact that.
All right, so just
So
Idea-
one thing that could be possible, it could be very ugly, but would be to have a small strip of land that runs down a property line that connects the southern piece, right? So you would have a very strange looking parcel.
flag shaped.
Yes, a foot or 6 inches or something strange.
Maybe the flag shape is possible. The other
know.
one, it just
How the surveyor's office and planning office would like to see a parcel or survey like that, but it may be possible.
I mean, how about, could you draw a line from the middle corner to the far left corner? So you'd end up with two triangular shaped lots on the bottom. And then the northern triangular shaped lot could go to Tyler. You know what I'm saying? And they
Yeah,
all touch at the corner.
Like I said, the sanitation on this is not the simplest because of high groundwater in this area.
Well, you'd still get a whole bunch of that northern half.
Yeah, so we have quite a few like setbacks that we have to stay on the property lines, and that one, it might be tough. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it
You
might.
know what I mean, John? Cornered, if that,
Can you, I don't know what you mean. Can you demonstrate it on the screen? Is that?
sure, I don't mind it. No.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll
yeah,
do it
well,
over the shoulder. You drive.
let's do the mouse. We're gonna get some mouse action here. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Let him do a little magic here.
Yeah, no, I see what you're getting at. I do think it would be it wouldn't be a nice straight line, but there could be potentially a configuration with
Nick is
lots of
drawing it,
bends
right?
that
Did you
might
draw
make
it?
it work. So. I have to take my screen out.
Okay. Sure, yeah, please do. I hope you guys can see we're trying to problem solve and not say no. That's we're trying to get to yes here.
And so the other option I'll just throw out here is I know as much as we want to get this done and resolved, if kind of engineering this on the fly is not desirable, we can certainly take some extra time if you would like. And
Nick's got this up. So. Yeah, and then the north half of that would go to Tyler. The south half of that stays with Mr. Ramos. It's still contiguous, so we're not into that issue we were with when we started. And Mr. Ramos could deed that bottom triangular shape away when the time's right.
So the goal is to
This goes to Tyler,
right?
Yeah.
And try to configure this in a way that you still have some of the desirable building parcels available for both sons and don't end up with a remainder, because that's what we're trying to avoid.
That's the remainder
north-
that makes it look like subdivision. And so this way you get no remainder, but not having walked the land, I don't know, maybe this doesn't work because of the specifics of the property. It just works on a map.
And I think that's not a yes or no answer for us
For
today.
sure,
I don't
sure.
think that sitting here, Dan's going to be
Absolutely.
able to say this is exactly where we
The
can draw
engineering on the fly is
Yeah.
not ideal.
Exactly. So
Why don't you guys
And
talk?
then there's the
And-
flag shape option as well. I could chat with Caps about these things.
before we say let's continue this until next time, though, can we circle back to the proposed restriction? I understand 4 years is not a long time in the real estate world. Is there something or a solution that we could explore with the commissioners there? Even if it's not 4 years, if it's something else, is that something that the commissioners are open to?
I'd ask John what's legal to do here and what isn't.
Well, you can't restrict property forever, but something along the lines of 4 or longer. I mean, I don't really want to, I don't want to come up with a number myself, but Rachel and I talked about she offered a proposed deed restriction, and there's some logistics involved in it that I won't complicate this hearing with, but it is possible, and I think it's legal. However, a deed restriction on private property then raises sort of, how does the governing body, Missoula County, for lack of a better term, police that or make sure that remains in place? Because what a property owner can impose on their property, they can modify or change, or if nobody's looking, if we're not monitoring this, then it may not.
Yeah, it's not like a conservation easement with a stewardship.
Exactly. It may not fulfill the purpose that we're looking for.
So the other consideration is that we've seen plenty of family transfers where it's some time before the recipient actually resides on the property. And that's in cases where they actually articulated a desire to move to the property. In this case, it's still somewhat speculative. I think that's the hope, that the other son will take up residence here, but simply having a period of time where it cannot change hands will not assure that that son even wants to reside there. Did you have something else you wanted to add?
I was just going to speak briefly to John's point. I think, it's a fair concern, but we can certainly draft a restriction that alleviates those concerns. There are, agreements we can enter into and terms we can put in a restriction that would impose the restriction until the parties, for example, filed a satisfaction of the holding period or some sort of notice that had been completed. So I think that we could alleviate those concerns through the drafting process.
So refresh my memory, a slight subject change. A parcel, a family transfer cannot be used for like one sibling to transfer to another. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I guess I am less enthusiastic about the deed restriction than I am about physically changing the lot configuration to avoid the remainder. But
Yeah.
other commissioners?
I would say you would have the flag shaped lot option or triangular shaped option or whatever, or what a real engineer would work out, and you guys would be walking the ground and actually making sure the physical considerations were met. That's much more appealing to me than the deed restriction.
Agree. Well, I mean, we don't know how long the deed restriction, what's appropriate, what Ryan would be ready for. I mean.
And like I said, I don't know how we police deed restrictions. We're not in that business.
We've tried to be in that business in the past, and sometimes we've been unsuccessful. Not saying that we wouldn't be successful in this case, and Rachel's exactly right. We could put all sorts of, sideboards on it and, triggering mechanisms and things like that. But, at the end of the day, it still is not, again, it may not accomplish the goals that it's intended to accomplish.
And all things being equal, if dust along the road or the desirability of the building site wasn't an issue, just splitting it as originally proposed, and aggregating first, splitting as originally proposed, and having the transfer for your son who wants to move to the site on that southern parcel would be the ideal path of least resistance. Short of that, I would say spend some time thinking about what you see on the screen or some other configuration. And we'll keep the public hearing open.
Let's keep it open.
And
Yep.
And I hope you see we're
rooting for you.
We're trying to figure out a solution here.
We appreciate that you haven't just denied it outright and that you're working with us to find a solution for sure. So, and we'll keep plugging away at it, and we'll be back.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Nick. And before we move on, is there any public comment on that item, on the proposed Ramos family transfer? Okay. We will keep the public hearing open to a date yet to be determined to reconvene. Hang on just a second. We'll recess just momentarily.
Just flash.
The alarms are going to go off.
Where are you going? Booked by the sheriff.
Yeah, I know. Where do those doors go?
Just out into the hallway by
Oh.
the bathrooms. Is right. Nice to meet you.
Okay, John. That's
I love it when we can continue.
That's the spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like they talked about this stuff. Okay, we will come back into session here. Bailey, would you like to introduce this next public hearing, which I will open? And this is the Woody Mountain Court Subdivision Extension Proposal.
Yes, good afternoon. I apologize. I just realized I didn't update my first slide from Monday, so the dates are a little wrong, but everything is also still the same other than the dates. So this is an extension request for the Woody Mountain Court Subdivision. There's no physical address for the property currently, but it is located in the southwest corner at the intersection between Highway 200 and Tamarack Road, kind of between East Missoula and Bonner, closer to Bonner. So it's the area that's in highlighted in red right there. It is unzoned. It is located under our Missoula County land use element from 2019, which is an amendment to the growth policy from 2016, and it's identified in the area that is residential. So this is a kind of tried to get as close as I could with it still being not blurry picture of the subdivision that was approved. It's a 25-unit mobile home park subject to 15 conditions of approval, and it was approved August 9th of 2018. The current final plat submittal deadline is August 9th of 2021, and that was approved as part of the original subdivision. So there have been no previous or other extension requests at this time. This is the first one. So we do allow under our subdivision regulations for extensions beyond the original 3-year filing deadline date, but it cannot exceed more than 6 years from the original preliminary plat date. So they are proposing to apply for the full 3-year extension, which would make a new deadline date of August 9th of 2024 for the whole, it's not phased or anything like that, it's just one big date. We review requests under our subdivision regulations. We have criteria for subdivision extensions, and these include changed circumstances, no significant changes to general area, no disruption of public facilities or services to the subdivision. We do notice advisory agencies, and I did that on June 9th, and the only comment that I got was from the surveyor's office, which was that it was no comment. So that's the only thing we received. And so therefore, we are recommending approval of the request to extend the deadline to August 9th of 2024. I do know Anna from IMEG is the applicant representative, and she was on the line, if she's still there, hopefully, if she has anything further to add, or I can go into criteria as well. But.
Okay, Anna, are you on the line and would like to comment?
Hi, good afternoon, commissioners. Sorry that I'm not there in person. I have more meetings later, as I'm sure you guys are all busy as well. My only comment is that we're hoping for the extension request. The reason for the request is we have been working diligently on getting this final plat done, but due to COVID, DEQ has suspended their timeline reviews, which has been the issue with getting it completely finished. So that's our reason for the extension request. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, other than just open public hearing and
okay.
If anybody's out there.
Thanks, Bailey. This is a public hearing. Is there any public comment either by folks in the room here in the Sophie Moise room or on the line? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Questions from the commission?
I'm good.
Wondering why the extension. So.
It is not Missoula County's fault. So
DEQ.
Yes, that would be the state of Montana.
COVID. Thank you.
Okay. How?
Sorry. That the final plat submittal deadline for Woody Mountain Court subdivision be extended to August 9th, 2024, based on the findings of fact in the staff summary.
Second that.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Bailey.
Okay. Thank you. And our final public hearing of the day, which I will open, is on the proposed 3% local option tax on marijuana sales and putting this before the voters of Missoula County for their consideration. And we'll begin with a staff report from County CAO Chris Lonsberry.
Good afternoon, commissioners. So today I'm before you, sorry, I think I'm really loud there. I'm going to move the microphone back just a little bit. Today I'm before you to ask you to open a public comment period on placing on the ballot the local option marijuana excise tax as part of a special election that would occur in November. So just a little bit of legislative history. As you'll recall, Citizen Initiative Measure I-90 was passed during the last election. And as part of its legislative process, the state of Montana wrote rules around how medical marijuana and recreational marijuana may be used in the state of Montana going forward. And that resulted in House Bill 701, which allows for counties where the majority of their citizens voted for Initiative I-90 to automatically be opted in and allow the sale of both recreational and medical marijuana. In Missoula County, we had a majority of our citizens vote, approximately 70% voted in favor of that initiative, so we were automatically opted in, so recreational medical marijuana will be allowed to be sold in Missoula County. Part of House Bill 701, though, includes a local option 3% tax, which may be charged against all or limited forms of marijuana, so it can be charged against recreational and medical, just recreational, or just medical. And so that 3% tax becomes effective 90 days after the election. Included in House Bill 701 was a request by the state that if counties were to consider this and put this initiative before their citizens, that it occur in the current year. And that's why we're on the timeline that we are, so that the Department of Revenue, which is charged with collecting and then distributing that tax, could meet their deadlines for implementing that program. So the way House Bill 701 structures the marijuana excise tax is that 50% of the tax that's collected in a local county is returned to the local government, so to Missoula County, and then 45% of the tax that's collected is distributed to any municipalities inside that jurisdiction. And of course, in the case of Missoula County, there is only one municipality, and that is the city of Missoula. And then the state is able to retain 5% of that tax to defray the costs associated with both the implementation and the administration of that. So we do have a little bit of information here. At this point, of course, we don't have a way to estimate precisely what the revenue might be that's generated from this. However, our staff here has worked diligently to look at the information that the state gathered on potential revenue and be able to put that together. And so looking at 7 states that have had programs in place since 2019 that legalized the sale of recreational marijuana, for the full year of marijuana tax revenue represented about 0.36% of the overall state's budget. So as of May 7th, 2021, there are already 48 registered marijuana dispensaries in Missoula County. They are currently registered with the Department of Health and Human Services. That registration process will move over to the DOR starting January 1st. So the language that would be on the ballot is still up for your consideration, but I have proposed language in front of you today that you can modify when you close the public hearing and make your decision, which will occur after the public comment period during the week of July 12th at an administrative meeting. So the proposed language I have before you proposes that you would tax both medical and recreational marijuana, but of course you have not made that decision, but I needed to provide some proposed language for you so that both are included, but you can adjust this language as you desire based on public input. So the question that would be read on the ballot would be, shall Missoula County impose a 3% local option marijuana excise tax on the retail value of all marijuana and marijuana products sold at adult use dispensaries and medical marijuana dispensaries within Missoula County, and then for a 3% marijuana local option excise tax against a 3% marijuana local excise tax? And so with that, I would ask you to open the public comment period and then hold that open for the next approximately week and a half, and then make a decision in an administrative meeting during the week of July 12th.
Sorry.
Do we know, Chris, do we know precisely the date of that administrative meeting?
I believe it is
The
I think
13th?
it's the 15th.
the 15th of
2
July,
weeks
which is
from today.
Thursday.
Okay. Very good. Well, we have opened the public hearing. Is there public comment on putting this before the voters in November? Come on up to the mic here in the Sophie Moise room, and please make sure that the green light is lit on the microphone, and say your name for the record and share with us your comments.
My name is Justin Michaels. Thank you for the time. I am strongly opposed to this for either adult use or especially for medical use. Something you might not be aware of, when the state legislature was debating this, they had a special session, and that committee called before them a DEA agent from Colorado. And that Colorado DEA agent explained to him that since legalization, the black market's actually gotten much worse because the high tax rate encourages people to not respect the law. And so he's fighting what he said would require $100 million to fight what he thought we should allocate to fight it in this state. So he inadvertently said that anything you can do, because our state legislators asked him, what do you think about the proposed 20% tax rate? And some of them were talking about dropping it to 15% at that point. And he said, anything you can do to lower that tax rate will help encourage people to go to the legal market and not be on the illegal market, not have gun fights in the streets. People are killing each other over this still in legal states, and punishing people for it to fund city government. And it looks like the main use of that would probably be to lower property taxes for some people. So now we have medicine that's being taxed for some people at a 4%, it would go up to 7%. It's still medicine for people that are using it adult use. It's just not recognized as medicine, which again, that makes me really call into question the integrity of our government with this. But the point is that encouraging people to not follow the law doesn't seem like it's productive for the city government. It seems like we're going to be better off if we actually encourage people to shop at those 48 different businesses, which are all paying taxes already. We all pay income taxes. I've worked in that industry for years. I stepped away because I need to actually be able to speak my mind and not put my employer in danger, which could happen because of the way that the contradictory laws allow for uneven enforcement. There's just a lot of problems with this, and I really think that it's a short-sighted move to keep on adding more tax. Montanans voted for a 20% tax only because that was the only option we had. I don't think Montanans really want to punish people for using this plant medicine instead of pills. So that's where I stand on this. I really hope that you look at this as an integrity issue and at the long term rather than just the short time dollar signs.
Thank you, Mr. Michaels.
And if you have any questions, I do have a lot of knowledge in this area, but
thank you
for your time.
Thank you. And, well, sure.
right.
And just to be clear for everyone who's joining us today, either online or in the room, what we're contemplating is not making a decision on this, but putting it before the electorate of Missoula County to decide whether they want this
On the ballot.
Placed on the ballot for folks in Missoula County to decide whether they want marijuana taxed in this manner. And also the decision to be made as far as what goes on the ballot relates to whether or not it's both recreational and medicinal or medical or both. So it's entirely possible that even if this goes forward to the ballot, that it's only recreational marijuana and not medical that would be taxed.
I think the Department of Revenue might fight you on that.
Well, I think
There's so many gray areas with this. But did you say you had a question, sir?
I wanted to reiterate what Dave just said very articulately, that our vote here is to put this on the ballot, and then the citizens of Missoula vote. So you would.
It's unfortunately, it's a matter of.
Do you want to speak into the microphone?
Yeah, sorry. I'm afraid that there's a big problem with misinformation. I had to actually call 4 days in a row to get a response from the Department of Revenue that they actually did intend to tax medical along with adult use, because on their website previous to last week, it indicated that medical would not be taxed, even though in the law, it's very clear that both will be taxed. So when I read different newspaper articles about it, most of them don't mention or very quietly mention that medical would be taxed. And so there's just, I think the public understanding of this really needs to be improved if we're going to have a legitimate vote. So
thank you, Mr. Michaels. Additional public comment, either folks here in the courthouse or if anyone is online, please raise your hand and we will call on you.
Chris has.
So commissioners, not a public comment, but just for information, we have not received any comments to date. I appreciate Mr. Michaels coming today. So that's our first public comment for that. Just to clarify, the state is taxing recreational marijuana at 20%. They are taxing medicinal marijuana at 4% under the existing law. This would be a local option tax that would be in addition to that. And again, you will make the decision what language goes on the ballot for the local only option piece. That state piece, we don't have any control over as to whether the voters choose to impose an additional 3% on either recreational, medical, or both. And you'll make the decision what that ballot language reads.
Josh.
So, what does the state tax medicinal now?
I would defer to John, but I believe it is already taxed at 4%. But I can research that and make sure that I'm correct.
Does Mel?
Thumbs up.
Mel says 4. So effectively,
Mel, come on up to the microphone so we get this on the record here. And if you could state your name also.
Sure. Hi, I'm Mel Fisher. According to the State Department of Revenue website, it is taxed at 4% right now.
So this would change
So the state, what the website says is they have and will continue to tax medical at 4%.
So if, and this is a lot of ifs because we haven't decided anything, but if we were to choose to add a 3% tax, to put the option for Missoula County voters to decide if they wanted to add 3% to recreational and not medicinal, the tax on medicinal would not change. It has been taxed at 4%. It would continue to be taxed at 4%. Nothing would change for medicinal buyers.
That's how I understand it from the website.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any additional public comment? Anyone online? Okay. Well, we will keep the public hearing open for the next 2 weeks. At our admin meeting on July 15th, we will take this up again for action. Folks are free to either between now and then offer public comment, send us emails, phone calls, whatever. And you can show up at our admin meeting on the 15th.
10 a.m.
10 a.m. Location yet to be determined.
Oh, right here?
Right
It's
here.
gonna be here.
Right here
Okay.
in the Sophie Moise room.
There you go.
Okay. All right, that public hearing will remain open. Is there any other business to come before the commission today? Okay, seeing none, we will be adjourned.
Have a great 4th of July
Happy
weekend.
4th of July. Be safe.